Live from the Wisdom Harbor Studios in Orange Beach at the Wharf. This is the Blue Plate Special. We're glad you're here. What is it? What do you think? Huh? Quick question. And I bet we're going to get some great answers to this one. We have a guest on today. We'll bring our guest on in just a few moments, but are you there? It's Monday. We lived through another weekend. Unbelievable. Here in Orange Beach, people were social distancing about that far apart. It was incredible how they were able to accomplish this. And I went in one place, and I felt like the total. I don't know if I don't know if I was leading the pack or behind the pack, but I was the only place in there with a mask. The only person. And so I didn't know if everybody else was going to drop or if I was going to drop or what. Hey, click the notifications when you see the notification come up on your screen and it says, do you want to be notified? How would I say that in English? Would you like to be notified when Andy is on the air? Notified sounds kind of like...
YouTube, Twitter, but is not going to your main Facebook page, and it's all
really. So here we go again. So this is not going to the main Facebook page yet.
It does not appear to be.
Well, maybe somebody should be notified. Anyway, we'll get this fixed. This is live television, ladies and gentlemen. You've been transported back to the 1930s, the 1940s, and we're doing it live, just like the real guys did. And, there's something about that and something about live that is very, very exciting. I think that we have more people joining us live because I think we have a whole group of NASCAR people, a whole group of people who watch pro bull riding. You don't want anything to happen. You don't want anybody to be hurt. But if somebody is going to get hurt, if there is going to be a disaster, you don't want to miss it. Do you? Okay. So anybody know what this is yet? Huh? Go ahead and share to your other pages while we're...
It's on now.
While we're on? We got it?
Now it's going to your Facebook. Yeah.
Okay. So for those of you who just rolled in on the big Facebook bonanza, we have a guest. We have a guess here. We want you to guess what this is. And we're going to bring our guest on in just a moment. And this is like 2 days in a row, Matt, with crazy current going through the air. Do you think it's the pandemic causing our broadcasting problems?
It must be.
I think it's the pandemic. It's the pandemic disaster epidemic rolling through the air, taking the signals right from the air. Anyway, so you're sharing? Are you clicking the notifications? Please do. Hey, Bob Woodall. Bob Woodall, since you're the first here that I'm seeing, we'll say that this episode is sponsored by you. By Call Bob Woodall, Heating and Air Conditioning in the Wiregrass community of Alabama. Kelly Amidon, hey, and let's see, there's California, Texas, a whole bunch of you guys. Anybody know what this is? Anybody? San Marcos, Texas. I had some friends from, and are you being notified? Yes, it's a good new word, isn't it? Before some of you came in, I said, hey, be sure to click the notification and make sure you are notified. I think that sounds kind of like something that the court would do to you. Sorry, but you have been notified, and we're expecting you. Joy Gregory. Hey, Joy. It's a really big plunger. No, it's not. I know it looks like it. It looks like one of those hats they used to make me wear in school when I sat in the corner. It's not a spirit trumpet, Peggy Odom Thomas. Not a spirit trumpet. I'm gonna bring our guest on here in a minute. You're gonna love our guest, and I'm gonna see if our guest knows, because he's a business person and he should know. Oh, I just gave you a hint, didn't I? You wonder if it's Woody from TSU in the 70s. No, it's not. And And do you see the fine woodwork in this? Huh? Okay. Heather Kruger, how did you know that? I'm still not going to tell everybody because maybe they haven't seen it. But Heather Kruger is it's like the winner. But David Finkel, are you there?
I sure am. Hello.
Hey, David. You guys, I have a buddy of mine, David Finkel, and David and I have decided to live our lives and never actually shake hands. David and I have been friends for a while, and we text, we email, we talk on Zoom, we talk on the phone. David is a business guru. I work with businesses, but David is like the guy. He's written. David, how many business books? Like 150 business books that you've written.
No, just 12, and I'm still trying to figure out what the heck is that device that you're holding up there. It looked like the Tin Man's head.
Okay, now I'm going to tell you. I want to tell them about you in just a minute. Stay with me, but I will tell you this. I'm very excited about this because I love things that I can have in my office that I can say to people, what do you think that is? And people don't know. I will tell you that this is the grandfather of something that you use today, actually from the same company, and a patented device is a patented device. But do you see, David? Can you see the scroll work on this? This is beautiful. This is like a beautiful piece. It's not art, but all right. Matt, I don't know if you can get close on that, but I will read. I'll just show it to you and I'll read it. It says, Kenworthy and Company, patent, and this is the, man, let me get my glasses. I'm suddenly stricken blind. This is the patented Kenworthy washer. Kenworthy washing machines? This is the first one they had. And I found some instructions on the internet, but I haven't found some good printed ones that I can lay beside it. But they would put it in there and it would have the suction, and you would go like that with this thing. And but that's what that was. That was only the fine homes had a patented Kenworthy washer. But can you believe? Sears so Kenworthy
had rocks to scrub against or something, huh?
I guess I don't know, but it made the agitation. And this is copper, and this is like really this wood is really good, and it is like really carved well. So I don't know how much that would have cost, but I have a bunch of stuff like that. What does your office look like, David? Wait, before you answer that, I do want to tell people that David he's the creator of Maui Mastermind. He is the guy who wrote the Freedom Formula and has written tons of other books. David is one of my favorite business kind of gurus, and I hate to tell you this, but SB, my assistant SB said, "Oh, he's good looking." I've never had a guest that was good looking. He's good looking. It's like, well, so there you go. David, you got it all.
That was incredibly kind. Nothing like an old photograph. She was very nice.
Well, David, you live with your family in Jackson Hole, Wyoming, right?
Yes. Yeah.
Small
little town out here, 10,000 people.
See, we live in a town with 4,000 people.
Oh, we're the big city then, Andy. Yeah,
you are. But more people have heard of Jackson Hole. Even though Jackson Hole has 10,000 people have heard of you, So, but they haven't really heard of us. And we kind of, we have a love-hate relationship with our city managers and with our, I guess, our tourist board down here, because it's a resort community just like Jackson Hole is. We have a love-hate relationship because we want to say, we've got the best beach in the world, but please don't come. You don't need to come. You don't need to be here. We don't need you here. But we make our living because you're tourists. Thank you for being here. But please leave soon. Leave soon. I mean, that's kind of how we are. It's very, very odd. Joyce Martin Green said, "Never in a million years would she have guessed that one." It's like a million years old, the plunger thing. So what are you guys doing out in Jackson Hole during the pandemic?
Well, funny you should say about the tourism side. So we get 4 million tourists coming through here every summer. And so we went hiking this past, Mother's Day yesterday. And when we did that, we saw 4 other people on a mountain that normally would have hundreds. So it was actually quite
Wow.
nice just to have it to ourselves. And, we had plenty of space to move aside when they came past and all the rest of that.
Seriously, you have 4 million people in the summer?
Yeah. I mean, they just
I mean,
drive through Yellowstone, Grand Teton National Park. It's so easy and accessible.
see, I mean, I thought we had a lot. I mean, so we have 4,000 people in the town. And we got two towns. We got Orange Beach, and then we got Gulf Shores, which are it's like Orange Beach, Gulf Shores, kind of like Dallas, Fort Worth, Minneapolis, St. Paul, that kind of thing. A lot of cultural aggravation going on with each other. I mean, everybody's proud of their place. You know how you say to somebody, "So you're from Dallas?" And they go, "No, I'm from Fort Worth." Well, people do that here. "So you're from Gulf Shores?" "No, we're from Orange Beach." It's odd, really.
Little
Because,
competition going on.
yeah, and you can't tell where one town ends and the other begins. But there really is a cultural difference, I suppose. But, with 4,000 people, we might have 300 or 400,000 on July 4th. But I know what you're talking about with having the trail to yourself because, there's a couple of times a year when the snowbirds are not here and the tourists are not here and the spring breakers are not here. And we have a town that is set. I mean, it has the infrastructure for a lot of people and we have it to ourselves. I mean, you could go out on the beach road and play Frisbee if you wanted to because nobody's there. So, very odd. What are you seeing business wise? Hey, wait, Alan Glover says Jackson Hole is one of the coldest places in the country. Really?
I don't know about that. I remember visiting my wife in Minnesota before we got married, and they had dump trucks at the airport hauling snow away. Never had
That's what
seen
I'm
that in my
thinking.
life, and I don't see that in Jackson.
Yeah, I'm thinking is the coldest place in the world, dude. Have you ever been to Duluth? I mean, because that's
And
man. I looked the other day. For some reason, one of the books that I read is called "An American Call of the Wild," and it's this guy from Scotland who wanted to live for a year in Alaska, and so he goes and lives in Alaska for a year, and it was near Dead Horse, Alaska, and this whole endurance thing was so crazy. It was a pretty funny book, and for some reason, I've kept Dead Horse, Alaska on my phone, on the AccuWeather, and the other day I looked and it was -5 in May in Dead Horse, Alaska. So Jackson Hole, you ain't got nothing, man. So tell us, David, what are you seeing with when we have this kind of
yeah,
pandemic thing? I got two questions that I just like want to lay out for you right off that. One is, are we stopping it too quickly, or should we hang on to the quarantining a little longer? Just in what you're seeing, it's an opinion, obviously. And the other thing is, where can we get an advantage by what we're going through right now?
yeah. Well, I'll answer them both. So first of all, personal opinion only. I think probably we're ending a little bit too soon with some of that part, but we need to get back to business. The opportunities that I see. So I'm looking at a lot of clients. So I consider myself at the center with our company of a lot of different businesses, cross industries, across North America. And here's what I'm saying. The people who are fighting, what I mean by that, the people who are resisting, it shouldn't be this way, it can't be this way, it needs to be different, they're struggling. The ones that are saying, look, this is what's going on. How can I take what's there and make it better? And I'll give an example in industry construction. One of the companies that we work with, they do home remodeling, window siding, and we actually see this in another company we do that does outdoor decking. They figured out how can they do a really wonderful job presenting the different designs and so forth inside a home, but by doing it through video conferencing. And they've actually been able to take their sales force and have them be 50% or more productive without the drive time. So that's an advantage there.
Yeah.
Financial services companies that have had people who say, oh, I only want to meet with my advisor in person. Well, one of our clients sent out a truck full of iPads to their very top clients, pre-done. And so these clients who were technologically uncomfortable with video conferencing had an iPad that was set up just for them to meet with their financial advisor. And they're changing these habits and behaviors. So the opportunities are certainly there, Andy.
See, I really, really believe, and we live in a place that we've had a hurricane, we've had an oil spill, now we got this, and I've seen in the other incarnations of disaster, so to speak, I've seen people take what some people look at as this is the worst that could have ever happened. It's the worst that could have happened for everybody, and we're all gonna. And then I've seen people take that and then turn it into something that they've talked about for years, going, wow, if that hadn't happened, we would never be here. And so it's an example of perspective, which people ask me about a lot because of the noticer books. And I will ask people sometimes, I'll say, well, what is perspective to you? What do you think perspective is? And they'll say, it's how people see things. And that's true, but not the truth. Because I believe that perspective is not just how you see things. It's not when you see it half full or half empty. It's how you choose to see it. Because the glass is whatever it is. But how you choose to see it will have you thinking in one direction or another. Shelley Hess says opportunity is often disguised as adversity. Absolutely. Absolutely.
Hearing you say that, Andy, it's interesting to me that right now what I see is it's really hard in the past to change behaviors. That's probably the hardest thing. I can get a client to create a wonderful business system, a marketing system, but getting their teams to accept that, well, I'll say this, there's nothing like a bit of fear or uncertainty to make change more appetizing or more palatable. And so I would tell any business person right now, is there a change that you've been dying to get your team to make or your customers to make or your market to make? And how do you use this as the moment to push that change through?
See, that's a great question. It's a great question. And, I believe the quality of our answers is determined by the quality of our questions. Susan Fredericks chiming in. Susan is another business guru out there. She says she totally agrees that resisting is not the answer. Better to transform our perspective and find new techniques. I think that's right. And David, when you see, and I'm just curious about this because you have worked with literally tens of thousands of businesses. And so how often do you see people who convince themselves that they're doing what they're changing. I'm changing. I'm doing what I'm supposed to do. I'm doing what you said. I'm doing what you said. And you're sitting there looking at them going, you're not, dude, you're not doing, you're not understanding or something. How often do you see, that's the 11th commandment to me. I always feel like Moses would have come back with 11 if he'd had more time on the mountain, and number 11 would have been, thou shalt not kid thyself. But I think people kid themselves a lot. How often do you see that?
Yeah, all the time. So I'll give an example. I was talking with a client, his name's Howie. He has of all things, a home improvement business. And one of the things he was telling me is that, David, I'm struggling. You got all these ideas. I'm not implementing them. I said, okay, you're feeling pulled in lots of directions is what I'm hearing. Yeah, that's it. I'm torn in two. I said, well, show me your phone. And he's like, what do you mean show me your phone? I said, show me your phone. So he hands out his phone and gives it to me. And I'm like, open up your calendar. And so one of the things we tell a client, and I'll tell anyone watching this, which is each week we tell our clients to block off 1 day a week for a 2 to 4 hour block of focus time. That's a recurring appointment. And then the other days we'll call those push days to do at least an hour. So look, I'm only changing 5 or 6 hours out of a 40, 50 hour work week, but I'm blocking those off as recurring appointments. And it wasn't on there. And the next time I saw him about 3 months later, I laughed. I said, show me your phone. He's like, here it is. And it had it in there. I said, well, how were the last 3 months? He said, surprisingly, they went a lot better. Well, okay, go figure. So, to anyone watching, show me your phone. What are you doing the things you know to be doing, or are you just saying that you're going to be doing them? But again, the proof is in the actual activity.
Yeah. To know and not to do is not to know, right? So Jim Hatchell says, adjust our sails to capture the wind. Absolutely. David, your latest book is The Freedom Formula. What I know when I write a book, there's always something in it that is my favorite. Now, I'm always kind of surprised that my favorite doesn't necessarily turn out to be everybody else's favorite. I remember writing The Traveler's Gift, and I was absolutely sure that everybody's favorite was going to be Joshua Chamberlain, because that was my favorite. It was the most incredible story to me. And through the years, I can honestly say it has been probably divided equally into 7 different. I mean, I'm just shocked. It's not even close. It's just like everybody has their own thing. But when you look at Freedom,
I was going to vote for Lincoln, by the way. I like that part myself.
Yeah, isn't that amazing? But when I look at Freedom Formula, I can't help but read it. Thinking about you, because I know you, and so I think, what was he thinking of me? Wonder how he found this out. Wonder how he figured this out. So what part, when you were writing it, did you go, here it is, people, man, I hope they get this. I hope. What part do you think this is worth the whole book right here?
Yeah, I think my favorite part was chapter 2. The
Right.
time mastery formula. Like, how do you
the 80,
get
20,
yourself?
how you're taking the 80-20, and is that right?
Yeah, that's right.
All right,
Taking
explain
it
it.
to extremes. Yeah. So, I mean, look, most people have distinction around time. They say weekday, weekend. That's their big distinction around time. Other people say billable, non-billable, or 20%, 80%. Pareto's principle: 20% of what I do gives me 80% of the result. And what we've always done with clients is say, well, let's just apply that again. So if 20% of what I do gives me 80% of the result, then 20% of the 20% gives me 80% of the 80%. And the math works out to be this 4% sweet spot gives me 64% of the output. And if I did it one more time, and I'll do the math for people, there's that magic 1% responsible for half the result. And so, that's the chapter we went through and said, how do you identify your A and B level, your 1% and your 4% activities? And then how do you identify your 80% activities, those D junk activities? And, give them a mechanism to rob from D into A and B. And I guess my favorite one, Andy, in the whole book was the analogy of a buffet. So I love Vegas. I love buffets. And I know that when I go to a buffet, the first plate of food is what matters. If I go straight to the dessert tray or the ice cream sundaes, I'm going to eat a whole bunch of empty calories and junk. But if I can make the first plate of food nutritious, then I'm going to be better. Well, most of us fill our business days with junk calories. And if I can just carve out, a few blocks of recurring appointments throughout the week, and there's a formula for that. I'm going to go ahead and whatever else I do, those 4 to 6 hours of higher value time are going to give me most of the value I create for the company I work for or the company I'm building.
Gotcha. I hope you guys, Blue Plate Special people, I hope you look at this as good value, good nutritional stuff. I mean, usually, not usually, but sometimes we're junk. Sometimes we're junk food. But boy, today, David, you're bringing the high protein here, baby. We're going to be on, by the way, Tuesday and Thursday this week. Isn't that right?
I thought you said Wednesday, Thursday.
Did I say Wednesday? Okay, you're right. You're right, ladies and gentlemen. I'm sorry. Just back that up. We're going to be Wednesday and Thursday. But Tuesday, tomorrow, let me tell you what's going to happen Tuesday. Tuesday, you're going to get the podcast. And my guest on the podcast is none other than David Finkel. And we really go into depth. And, we're a little more loosey-goosey on the Blue Plate Special, but with the podcast, we take David really into depth, especially with the Freedom Formula. And so you're going to want to listen to that podcast the second it comes into your inbox. And of course, on the West Coast, that will be at 3:15 in the morning, 3:15 in the morning, 3:15 in the morning. You need to look back to see that episode. If you didn't see that episode, David, we got just a horrific letter. She was so upset and releasing her findings to the international news. So since she was doing that, we felt okay to read it. Let's see. What else? Nadine, what do you say? Nadine's saying, hey, that's great insight, and thank you. In fact, we got a ton of people coming in saying they appreciate you, David, and we appreciate you too. I got one more question for you, David, and this is more because we get really serious. We get really serious on these issues tomorrow on the podcast. But I've got more of a kind of a family thing because you're a guy, and see, right here on the screen I got Judson Perkins, which Judson said this applies to way more than business. Easy formula to better yourself. And Judson is not only one of my favorite people, Judson is a new daddy. He and Mary just had a baby last week. And so you, David, you and your wife have 3, what I consider kind of little kids. And so how are you taking this experience and framing it in their minds? Because I have a lot of people asking me, what is this going to mean in the future? What is this going to, how are people going to remember this? Well, what people? I mean, your family is going to, you're the one that controls the narrative, right? I mean, your business, you're going to control the narrative because in the absence of a narrative, they'll come up with their own. So what narrative are you producing for your family right now, David, so that this memory will be what are you looking to create?
Yeah. For us, it's just been more time together, no question about it. So I talk with my kids and we use it as, look, this is a chance for you to recognize that, you got your brothers who are going to be your best friends in life. You get to choose all your other friends. You don't get to choose your brothers, but let's face it, connecting and caring for your brothers is a big deal. Past the time when, my wife and I are gone, that would be one thing. And 2, for us, it's just been the opportunity to do things like family movie nights and more game nights and going in the backyard. I mean, as silly as it sounds, my kids have been sleeping in our backyard in a tent for 2 weeks in our backyard, and they're having a blast. And I don't need them to feel the weight of the world. And quite frankly, I don't think that's going to help them. It's not going to help the world. I just need them to be a kid. And so looking for ways that they can see this as an opportunity for connection, what matters in terms of values of family, and just having a fun, having an adventure like Huckleberry Finn in the backyard.
That's great, man. Thank you for that. Thank you. That was great. And you guys, David, where can we contact you? And Matt, will you please listen to this and put it up on the screen for us? And so where can we contact you, David?
Yeah, you could find me at MauiMastermind.com. That's my business coaching company's website, MauiMastermind.com. And I just would ask one thing. If I love various books, and it used to be, Andy, that I thought, it mattered who reviewed the book in terms of the cover blurb. And on this Freedom Formula, there was even this guy from Orange that gave me a kind cover blurb, which I appreciated. But nowadays, what I find what really matters is wherever you get a copy of the book, if you enjoy it or not, put your honest view up there, but take a moment to review it. That would be a lovely gift back, because that's what your peers are looking for.
Truly. Yeah. Go on Amazon, review this book. I mean, unless for some reason you're cranky, and then just stay off Amazon. Okay.
That's right. Send me an email at 3:15 in the morning when I release my podcast declaiming to the world about how horrible I am, because
there you go.
Why would she have her alerts on that early in the morning? My gosh.
One would wonder that, wouldn't one? I mean, it's like, good grief, And you got to go back and listen to this episode. She also told us, and here I am with 3 toes.
One for each AM in the morning. I love it.
I guess. David, thank you for being here. Look forward to tomorrow when we can hear you a lot longer, where I can lead you into deeper water tomorrow. But thank you for being with us.
Thank you for having me, Andy.
All right, buddy. So David Finkel, you guys, is just such a good guy, good dad. I can't believe Jackson Hole has 4 million visitors in the summertime. I don't know what I would do. I don't know what I would do. I would leave is what I would do. But it seems like such a beautiful place. And I wanted to ask him if he had ever read any of C.J. Bach's, those books. C.J. Bach is an author, has books about a Wyoming game warden. And, I've read books about detectives and all, but I rarely do you read anything like game warden. But, a couple of those are set around Jackson Hole. And let's see, Lynn Wright said, said this bothered you more than you think. What you mean, the 3 a.m., the 3:15, 3:15, 3:15? Maybe it did. I don't know. Maybe. I think it bothered me at first, but I think now I'm just like trying to mine it, because I just still don't get it. I'm like David. Why don't you just turn off your phone? But I still don't get it. But those Amazon reviews, those do. That's why I hope you guys please go review our books on Amazon and be nice, but just forgive me because I'm not gonna read them because I just can't, because people, it's just like one just kills me. Let me leave you today with this story. This is an amazing story that I had a guy actually tell me about these one things happening right in the middle of great stuff. You remember Jim Palmer? Jim Palmer is a Hall of Fame pitcher. He was with the Baltimore Orioles and actually became more famous when he retired for underwear commercials. But I'm sure that a lot of you guys remember Jim Palmer. Kimberly, you're welcome. I enjoyed having David on too. I was talking to Jim one day, and I asked him, I said, what was this, like a strange moment for you? What was like a moment when you look back and you realize your thinking was out of whack and you had to learn to control something with your thing? And he told me a story that is very common, I think, but I think it's unusual in that this came from somebody that is so famous, who has had so much success. But the Baseball Hall of Fame is voted on by baseball writers, baseball Hall of Famers, baseball people. I mean, these are the people voting for the Baseball Hall of Fame membership are people who know it, right? These are people who know baseball and understand it. So he had been out of baseball. He'd now qualified in his first year for voting for the Hall of Fame. And, this is the lifetime thing. This is as big as it ever gets to be voted into the Hall of Fame. And so this was before cell phones or the internet or anything, but Jim said he knew the voting was happening, and he had told the people that he was taking his family to a certain restaurant, and so his mom, his dad, his wife, his children, his brother, they were all going to this restaurant to eat. And the maitre d' at this restaurant was aware that the Hall of Fame would be calling if he were voted in. And so everybody was kind of on alert. And it was kind of a pretty sure thing that he was going to be a first ballot Hall of Famer, that he was going to get voted in, with that first ballot and not have to wait several years. And yet, as the night went on, he wasn't hearing anything. They weren't getting any calls, and they got into dessert and then into coffee, and then they started kind of saying things like, well, hey, that's okay. We got a few years to do this, and, it would, and his kids are going, Dad, you'll get in. Don't worry. It's no big deal. It's not. And as they were doing this, the maitre d' comes to the table with the phone, taking the cord from, long cord, comes to maitre d' with the phone on this silver tray, and he says, Mr. Palmer, we have a call from you from the Baseball Hall of Fame. And everybody at the table was like, oh my gosh, this is it, because they wouldn't call if he didn't make it right. And so Jim says, hello? And the guy on the other end says, this is so-and-so from the Baseball Hall of Fame. Jim, I wanted to congratulate you. You have been elected to Baseball's Hall of Fame. And he looked at the family and did this, and everybody went, ah. And then the guy said to Jim, he said, Jim, if you don't mind me saying, I just wanted to give you special congratulations. We've done this for years, obviously, and you were voted in with the highest percentage of votes on a first ballot that a pitcher has ever been voted into the Hall of Fame. You're voted in with 89% of the ballot voting for you. And Jim said he immediately went, 11% didn't vote for me. He said, I'm thinking, what, they didn't, like 11% didn't think I was good enough? What did I do? He said, here in the greatest moment, he said, all I could think about was something I might have done wrong, or something that they didn't think I was good enough. And it's just, oh my gosh, isn't that crazy in one way? But that's just kind of us in another, and that's part of the way that we have to realize, man, we got to control our thinking. And so if part of that controlling our thinking is to listen to the people who matter, look at the numbers that matter, watch the situations that matter, and let the others go their own way, and that's what we have to do. And so I decided a while back, I wasn't going to read those reviews, because if they were bad reviews, then I disagreed with them and they made me feel bad. And if they're great reviews, I kind of thought, well, maybe they're wrong too. So I'm just going to do my best and kind of help. And here's David Finkel coming in saying, great story. He's guilty of the same situation. And boy, am I ever. Hey, thank you again, David. Thank you, guys. And we'll see you again Wednesday. By the way, Thursday on the Blue Plate Special, we're going to have Sugarcane Jane live in the studio. They may be wearing masks, but bring the guitar to sing. It's going to be great. But we'll see you at the Blue Plate Special Wednesday. And then Thursday this week, thanks to David Finkel, thanks to all you guys. See you soon.